Hello, nice to see you online. I watched Demon Slayer Infinity Castle Arc Chapter 1, Akaza Returns, many times. I watched it 4 times last year and watched it again this year, so I've seen it 5 times in total. In Japan, this movie is still being shown in theaters. It was released in mid-July last year, so it has been in theaters for about 6 months. Every single time, I cry really hard. I cry so much when I watch this movie, so I feel embarrassed if there are people around me. So I usually sit in the very front row now. Actually, I always watch movies from the front row anyway. But, especially for this movie, I try to choose seats where there are as few people as possible. However, this movie is extremely popular, so it's not easy to find empty seats nearby. I try my best to cry quietly so the people next to me won't notice. But the time I cried the hardest, I actually cried out loud. That was a little embarrassing, to be honest. Before I continue, this movie contains spoilers for Demon Slayer Infinity Castle Arc Chapter 1. If you don't want to know even part of the story, you may want to stop watching here. Alright, let's continue. In this movie, we see Akaza's past, his childhood, how he met Koyuki, and how their relationship grew, almost reaching the point of marriage, only for a nightmare-like fate to strike him. The movie doesn't just focus on Akaza's battle with Tanjiro and Gil, it also deeply portrays Akaza's life back when he was human. Even if someone is handled with such a tragic and hopeless life, becoming a demon, taking many lives, can never be forgiven. And yet, Akaza's words and actions throughout the story, the gentle side he showed to Koyuki, and the fact that even after becoming a demon, he could never completely abandon who he once was. All of this makes his story incredibly painful. In the end, Akaza finally faces himself in the truest sense. He realized that he is an unforgivable existence, and yet Koyuki alone accepts him. Holding on to that warmth, Akaza quietly fades into nothingness. That final scene, Akaza's figure, Koyuki's kindness, and the music that softly envelops the entire moment. The climax of this movie is something I simply cannot watch without tears. I watched Demon Slayer Mugen Train arc many times as well, and every time it made me cry again and again. So, before watching Infinity Castle arc Chapter 1, I honestly thought that there was no way it could surpass the emotional impact of the previous movie. But in a good way, my expectations were completely shattered. Not only the ending, but throughout the movie, there are 3 major highlights when you look at it as a whole. Each of these highlights features intense dynamic battles combined with deeply emotional moments. And in every single fight, there were scenes where I simply couldn't stop crying. This movie isn't just about action. It carefully balances powerful combat with emotional storytelling, and that combination makes every battle hit straight to the heart. By the time the movie ended, I felt emotionally overwhelmed in the best possible way. Actually, I haven't read the original manga, so I don't know how the story develops from here. I don't usually read manga very much, so when it comes to Demon Slayer, I've only been following the anime series, the TV series, and the movies without reading the original manga. After finishing this movie, I did think about reading the manga to find out what happens next. But in the end, I've decided that I want to continue experiencing the story only through the movies. I want to enjoy the rest of the journey the same way. One film at a time, without knowing what comes next. So the big question is, when will Infinity Castle Arc Chapter 2 be released? Chapter 1 was released in Japan in mid-July, right around the time when schools go on summer vacation. So naturally the next question is, when will Chapter 2 come out? As a fan, of course, I want it to be released as soon as possible. But instead of just hoping, let's try to predict the timing. There is a Japanese YouTuber who has already made a prediction about the release window. What impressed me was that their reasoning was very logical and well thought out. In this video, I would like to introduce that prediction and walk you through the logic behind it. Let's take a closer look. So far, there is an important pattern in the Demon Slayer anime series. In the past, there has never been a gap of more than around 1 year between each arc of the anime series. This means that, historically, the release schedule has been surprisingly consistent. This is one of the key points to consider when predicting when the next chapter might be released. Based on that logic, we can estimate that Chapter 2 will likely be released around this summer in Japan. It's also possible that Chapter 2 is already nearly completed at this point. From here, the final decision would mainly depend on box office strategy. Since Chapter 1 was released just before the summer vacation in July and became a huge success in Japan, I believe Chapter 2 will be released around the same time this year as well. From a business perspective, releasing it at the start of summer makes perfect sense. Also in Japan, Chapter 1 of the Infinity Castle arc, which is still playing in theaters, is expected to be slipped into around 7 episodes and broadcast on TV before the release of Chapter 2. On top of that, various promotional campaigns will likely be launched, fully preparing the groundwork for Chapter 2 to become another record-breaking hit following the success of Chapter 1. From every angle, it seems clear that the production and marketing teams are building a rock-solid strategy to ensure the momentum continues. While we eagerly wait for the next installment, I would love to ask you this: whether you've already watched Chapter 1 or not. What does Demon Slayer mean to you? What was a scene that moved you most? What is a character you truly love? What is a moment that has stayed with long after watching? Please feel free to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. I would really love to read them. And of course, while the original manga itself is truly outstanding, the contribution of the animation studio that brought Demon Slayer to life and turned it into a worldwide phenomenon is nothing short of remarkable. A brilliant original story combined with exceptional animation and world-class technical skill together, they have created this extraordinary anime series that continues to shine and captivate audiences across the world. And that is why Demon Slayer continues to resonate so deeply with so many people. Demon Slayer was actually nominated for a major American Film Award Golden Globe Awards. Specifically, it received a nomination for Best Animated Feature. This alone was a huge achievement, as very few Japanese anime titles have ever reached this level of international recognition. However, despite the nomination, Demon Slayer did not win the award. Even so, being nominated at the Golden Globes clearly shows how much global impact the series has had, especially outside Japan. For anime fans, this animation itself can be seen as a historic milestone. This is one important fact about Japanese anime that should not be overlooked. In 2024, The Boy and the Heron, directed by Hayao Miyazaki, won the Golden Globe Award for Best Animated Motion Picture. This was the first time in history that a Japanese animated film won a Golden Globe. For many years, Japanese anime has been loved by fans all over the world, but this moment represented something more: official recognition on one of the most prestigious global stages in cinema. And this achievement is not an isolated case. When we look at the overwhelming global success of Demon Slayer, its record-breaking box office numbers, and the emotional impact it continued to have on audiences worldwide, it becomes clear that Japanese anime has entered a new era. While Demon Slayer has not won a Golden Globe, its influence, popularity, and cultural impact are undeniable. A powerful original story combined with extraordinary animation quality and uncompromising craftsmanship, these are the same strengths that have defined Japanese anime as a whole. In that sense, the success of The Boy and Heron and global phenomenon of Demon Slayer both point to the same conclusion. Japanese anime is no longer just entertainment, it is world-class cinema. The momentum behind Demon Slayer is only going to grow stronger as we move toward Chapter 2 and eventually the final chapter. The excitement is far from over, and honestly I can't wait to see Chapter 2. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!